have worked as motivating forces, who have been working as motivating forces behind organizing this webinar are one, Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, Principal, Egra Saroda Shashibhushan College, who is the patron of this webinar. I also want to mention Mr. Torun Kumar Maiti, President as well as MLA of Egra Assembly Constituency and President of the governing body of our college, who is also the chief patron of this webinar. And the organizing committee today holds such a webinar in a special context, which I will mention a little later. But first, I invite our principal, Dr. Deepak Kumar Tameli, to deliver his address to welcome all the participants, research scholars, student participants, and teacher participants. I will request our principal to offer welcome address first.
Thanks, Dr. Vishwas. Good morning. It is a really great honor and privilege in welcoming all academicians, researchers, students, dignitaries in today's webinar on interdisciplinary research in college level, innovation and new ideas, organized by Research Cell of Egra ESSBC College in collaboration with IQAC, Egra ESSBC College. I express my thanks and regards to Professor Deepak Kumar Goswami, Professor IIT Kharagpur, and Professor Mamen Daniel, Professor Department of Botany, MS University, Baroda, Vadodara. Today's webinar is really a significant topic. Over the period of time, the role of research has been gaining importance as it promotes the development of our logical habits of thinking and problem solving. Research is a tool for building knowledge and facilitating learning. Universities have been focusing on the formulation of research considering the alternative policies and examining their consequences so as to choose the best available policy. Considering the excellence and quality of research throughout the state, we have noticed, due to inadequacy of seats in research in centers of the university, likewise in other university, our university has also taken initiative of research facilities in some of affiliating colleges. Today's topics, interdisciplinary studies and research, allows the student to learn by making connection between ideas and concepts across different disciplines. Undergraduate can have a rich educational experience when they learn about and in more than one discipline, especially when education is complemented by research experience. Students learning in the way and are able to apply the knowledge gained in one discipline to another different discipline as a way to deepen the learning experience. Interdisciplinary research is defined as a mode of research by teams of individuals that integrates information, data, technique, tools, preservatives, concepts, and or theories from two or more disciplines or bodies of specialized knowledge or advanced fundamental discipline or area of research practice. Individual research involved in interdisciplinary research require a supportive environment that permits them to work in multiple disciplines and departments to be fairly evaluated and rewarded for both their interdisciplinary and their disciplinary works. They have a responsibility to explore and demonstrate the benefits of interdisciplinary research, venture into new fields, and to be open in the culture and values of other disciplines. The interdisciplinary biological science and chemical science program include nanomedicine in the various field of nanotechnology, organic chemistry, physics, material science, pharmacology, molecular biology, and biotechnology for medical department. Pathogenomics also involve the microbiology, evolutionary theory, computer science, medical genetics, genomics. Receptor biology, one of the biological science branches, physiology, biochemistry, and cell biology. Various branches of biological science and chemical science are involved in interdisciplinary research. Also, physics, experimental, computational, and theoretical physics. Another relatively new interdisciplinary field in the social science combines with political science, sociology, public and environmental affairs, economics, with international business management, and psychology, and is concerned with rational decision making and response management at the level of society. I think today's our two resource persons, Professor Goswami and Professor Daniel, will give their valuable lecture, and our students will be benefited by their lectures. Lastly, I again congratulate and pay my regards to resource person, and thanks to other students, researchers, teachers, and dignitaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Sir, for your such a welcome address. And I think a little more information is required, particularly to state in which context the research cell is going to organize this type of webinar in collaboration with internal quality assurance cell. So a little elaboration is required just to mention the context, or you can say it an introductory note. In the field of researches, interdisciplinary studies, comparative studies have almost become a fashion today than the earlier research trends, which were uniform and homogeneous in nature. With such a change in research trends, needless to mention, research approaches have changed their directives. In the early times, when the trends were consistent, but now it has become multifaceted, multidimensional. In consequence, the fields of research have been broadened on one hand. On the other hand, more researchers have become able to work together. And in such a context, I want to mention that when a large number of research scholars are coming from various disciplines to do their research works, research today has become almost an integrated course of study involving varied scholars from different subjects and different disciplines. It is quite interesting that at the lower level of studies today, the courses are taught in blended mode. The demarcation line today at the level of ages study in our country between arts, science, and commerce has almost been erased. The brightest example in this case is, of course, introduction of CBCS course of study by UGC at college and university level of our country. I think it's indeed a good and beneficial approach to studies, as it extends enormous academic freedom to the students as well as research scholars of our country. But we must not forget that at the same time, it puts a big question mark to its fruitful and successful implementation in a country like us, where we have to work always within limited infrastructural facilities. At the college level, this scope is far more less to work with interdisciplinary studies or interdisciplinary approaches particularly in respect of infrastructural problems. And I hope that this side is also to be properly addressed in the deliberation of the two notable speakers or resource persons who are today to talk to us in this webinar. I don't want to waste more time here. We have got today two erudite scholar speakers, and we are feeling eager to hear from them more in this context. I just give a brief introduction about the two speakers. Our speaker for plenary 1, Dr. Deepak Kumar Goswami. He is a professor, Department of Physics, IIT Kharagpur, West Bengal. He has done his PhD on growth and self-assembled nanostructures by molecular beam epitaxy system and their characterization. He has so far guided or has been guiding 13 PhD scholars. Dr. Goswami has contributed as many as 37 articles to international journals. He has acted as guest editor to various international journals also. So far, he has written 4 book chapters and has also as many as 12 published contributions to various academic conferences. Such an honorable person will talk to us today in plenary 1. At the same time, I am to give a brief introduction to our second speaker for plenary 2. We have got the renowned person today, Professor Dr. Mamen Daniel. He is an ex-head Department of Botany and ex-dean Faculty of Science, MS University of Baroda, Vadodara, Gujarat. Presently, he is the managing director, Dr. Daniel's Laboratories, Vadodara. He has done his PhD degree on chemotaxonomical studies on some selected angiosperm taxa. And such a person will be also with us for plenary 2. He is indeed a great man to all of us with a vast experience of 34 years of teaching and of 39 years research. In his long research career, he has supervised so far about 40 MSc projects and 17 PhD theses. His field of specialization, taxonomy, phytochemistry, phytoalexins, and medicinal plants. In his long academic career, so far he has published 167 research papers and 17 books. His list of publications is too much. He is a great scholar. He has delivered a lot of invited lectures in various conferences, workshops, refresher courses, and many more. And today, our Daniel sir will be our second speaker for plenary 2. But for the first plenary session, we have got Dr. Deepak Kumar Goswami, and I, as coordinator, IQAC, very, very grateful to both the speakers for giving time by putting aside their busy schedule. First, I invite Dr. Deepak Kumar Goswami to deliver your address. Sir, please, over to you.
Thank you very much. So am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for this kind introduction. And I also thank the organizer for inviting me and giving me opportunity to talk about some of this interdisciplinary work that we have been doing in our laboratory. And most importantly, how these works that we do in lab can be beneficiary to the society in at large. So I'm going to talk about this. So before we start, let me share my screen and then I will start. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let me start with today's topic. So what I'm going to talk, as my title said, that organic electronic sensors. So these are all electronic small devices which can, sense different kind of parameters. I mean, it can be different body temperatures or anything else. So I'll talk in detail about that and how these sensors can be, part of Internet of Medical Things, which is a new technology that also I'm going to introduce in this seminar. So I'll start with flexible electronics. So electronic devices that we all know, these are the transistors is essentially the important device that we use in all kind of electronic gadgets and devices. So what I'm going to introduce is basically flexible electronics. So the device which are actually flexible in nature. Now, if we talk about flexibility in the electronic device, it has been, started in 2008 with a very, famous article by Jinan Bao from Stanford University. She wrote about stretching our imagination. So she talked about a device which is basically, based on carbon nanotube. It's a single or carbon nanotube based transistor, which is an electronic device, which is flexible in nature. But more importantly, as the title of this article says, that stretching our imagination, which is very important, because apparently what we actually imagine today, that comes out to be in reality tomorrow. So that's particularly, it's important for the scientists and researchers to be more, particularly now the young stars who wants to jump into this field of research and technology development. It's important to be imaginative. And when you talk about flexible or stretchable electronics, something that has no limit of stretchability is imagination. So it can stretch up to at any extent, and more you can stretch, better things come out from your imagination. So we need to do that. And from this imagination, as you see that in 2008, I mean, it's one of the example. Of course, it started a long time back also. And so what you see today is, there are a lot of flexible electronic devices in the market. As you can see, which I have picked up a couple of them, which are already in the market and really fancy and interesting device. As you see the flexible display, which you can roll it and wrap it around the hand, and you can do all sort of stretching, twisting, but it actually a electronic device. And this Samsung foldable, mobile phones are already in market, which you can fold it. So these are all, excellent technological advancement with the device which are flexible in nature. Right. So this is one aspect of these flexible electronic devices. But another aspect is that not only to this electronic fancy application, these devices also can be used as sensors. So if you are a little bit creative in your thought, you can convert some of this device from the selection of materials and the design. You can fabricate some of these interesting and excellent sensors, particularly in different applications. But what I'm going to focus is on particularly the healthcare application. So there are several sensors that we have developed and we are developing in the lab. Particularly what I'm going to talk today is try to cover some of them. For example, these are all the sensors and devices that you see here are actually built in our lab. So we'll be talking about temperature sensors and for different applications like wound healing, breath and pulse monitoring. Then there are many other which I'll be talking, in a minute or two. So just before we start with this, technical aspect of the sensors, just to give you a brief, perspective of the global scenario and what is the future of this kind of flexible sensors in healthcare industry in our in our country as well as across the globe. Wearable medical device, which is actually has already come up in a big way. Mostly, what you see here is the sports and fitness sector, and then there are many actually like smartwatch that we normally use. I mean, today many of us already are using. So that smartwatch is not only a watch to give you the time, but it can actually monitor many of your body parameter. For example, your heart rate, your pulse rate, right? Number of steps that you make, across whole day, right? How much calorie you burn. So these are all the part of sport and fitness wearable device. But what is important today, in global perspective as well as in our country, which is in fact more important, is remote patient monitoring and home healthcare. So these two, because the country like us, we don't have sufficient number of doctors, do not have sufficient healthcare staff, hospitals. So we need to really, take care of the patients, if it is possible from remotely, from the clinic, and more importantly from home. And it will be a great help to the society in general. Now look at the market and the growth, just to give this youngster to understand that what kind of features that we are heading in, particularly in the healthcare sector, and why you need to consider this field as one of your interested field as well. You see that this is a projection of wearable medical device market, particularly in the US. It's not even covered in the whole world. So if you look at the market was something like 2015, it was $1.8 billion, which is projected in 2026. It's not far, right? Couple of years, with a growth rate of 26.1%, which is extremely high. So that's indicates that the future of the healthcare, providing healthcare to patient, is essentially in this part of this technology, lying in this part of technology, particularly wearable remote patient monitoring and whole home healthcare system. So in addition to that, if you also look at the revenue generated, particularly in this wearable medical devices, and this device includes, of course, there are many things. For example, your pre-surgery monitoring device. Before you go to surgery, you can be monitored such that your surgery conditions will be fixed in a very specific and accurate manner. So that can be done. Smart footwear, smart clothing, fever monitoring, which is very important. I'll come to that. Motion, posture, position monitoring, other outpatient monitoring, which are also very important. As I said that, particularly in our country, we have really, do not have sufficient hospitals and, healthcare staffs. So we need really, this kind of solution. Wireless patient monitoring, other cardiac devices, other medical devices, mobile cardiac telemetry. So these are all the things which are part of this healthcare activities. But what you see is the projection of revenue generations, again, by 2024, and if you compare 2019, for all these different sensor and devices, is almost double, getting double. So this is also again indicates that this is what is the future of our healthcare support that we are going to get in coming years. Now let me introduce a new concept in particularly the healthcare support that normally we have, which that anything and everything that happens to you, you need to first visit doctor to a clinic or a hospital. Now this idea of visiting doctors or hospital is going to change in coming years, and so that is essentially in the direction of called IoT. So IoT is, many of you might have heard, particularly the students, but I'll just give you the brief introduction to this. It's called the Internet of Things. So Internet we know, but this Internet of Things is a little bit different because it's like connecting many things and many everythings that normally today, in every day we're going to use. So that's like connecting everything is essentially called the Internet of Things. So what you have in this case, so you have basically a cloud, which is essentially the central part of this whole IoT things. And then you can count anything and everything that every day that we use to make our life and tomorrow smarter. So that can be like part of, as I said, the healthcare, but there are many other in every day that we use. For example, the retail, smart retailers, smart cities, homes, right? And similarly, wireless connection, embedded systems, which actually, your Wi-Fi is connected to many other electronic device gadgets at your home. IoT in agriculture, so the agriculture's also sector, we put a lot of sensors which are constantly monitoring and helping the agricultures as well. There are vehicles, assets, pet monitoring control. So all sort of things are actually all connected to a central cloud server. So the cloud is essentially an internet common servers that we're talking, but everything's are connected. Now, what this enables is that to take smart decisions. Like for example, suppose let's say you're traveling in a vehicle on the road, and suddenly you're feeling sick. You need to consult to doctor. So you don't have doctor, of course, on the way. So your mobile phone can act to get the support, and it can directly connect to a cloud servers, and that cloud servers is connected to all different healthcare hospitals, doctors, medicines practitioners, and they can immediately give you some kind of support. Nevertheless, they can, even your mobile phone can guide you to a nearby hospital where even the bed is available. Some of the hospital, and you go and then you see the bed is not available, right? So all sort of things, logistic things can be arranged, in a fraction of second, on go, and you get the solution. Particularly, this is very important. As I said, that there are many examples, but healthcare is one of the important part that we are focusing at the point of time. So this is called the Internet of Things. But when you talk about Internet of Medical Things, then as I said, that it's essentially the part of this IoT which concerns about the medical supports given to the patients. And as you see here, it actually connects. For example, the patient is at home or somewhere else, and there are some kind of wearable device which actually has a lot of sensors in it and integrated to a particular wearable device. And if you have it with you, you are connected through a Wi-Fi server to a cloud server, and you are constantly being monitored. All your body parameters will be monitoring automatically. And then if anything goes wrong, it can be automatically connected to a primary healthcare sector. And of course, you don't need to visit there because they get your parameter automatically, and they can get some support immediately. Whether it is a minor or it's a major problem, the support should come, and even the emergency service also will be immediately available to you, such that further action can be taken, right? And then, of course, even you're saying, let's say the situation is not that critical, but it can be cured, it can be treated from the home, then that is also possible. Doctor can monitor right from the hospital or clinic. You don't need to visit to the hospital, and all your body parameter, with time, I mean, they can actually monitor it in a very systematic way, and therefore you get support very efficiently. More importantly, some of the things that we particularly need is the home care or home therapy, where which has been more important in last 1.5 years during this pandemic time. That we don't have sufficient number of hospitals, sufficient number of beds, healthcare staffs, and most of this, particularly these COVID patients, are now being treated at home. Now, all you need is some kind of mechanisms that helps you out to actually, to monitor the patient at home and give the proper therapy. Now, so this also is important. So we have actually contributed some of our sensors to this home care therapy, which I'll be talking in time. Okay, so this is what is called the Internet of Medical Things, where you connect several devices, several systems, hospitals together, and you can actually get a better support and service from this industry. Now, what we have done is that we have developed large number of sensors which are actually compatible to integrate this kind of things, and we have demonstrated a couple of the IoT IoMT device that in coming future. So coming future, which will hopefully some of them will be coming in market, and we are working on that. Now, let me come to the research activities that we are doing in our department in IIT Kharagpur. So as you see here is particularly the sensor development, wearable physical sensors, and they are essentially 4 different sectors. For example, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, sensors of different kind of integrated platform, and then strain sensors. So, and if you look at the application of it, in particularly in the healthcare sector, there are many, like mapping body temperature, wound healing monitoring, heart pulse monitoring, voice monitoring, detection of pulse in human neck. So that's also sometimes important. Studying human speech, monitoring strain, humidity, monitoring temperature, drug delivery, monitoring human emotion, monitoring muscles and movement, monitoring human motions, detection of body temperature. So these are all different kind of applications. And we have targeted many of them. And you see the stars given, actually we have sensors in our lab already, and some of them are already in the mature state. So what the plan is to cover some of them. For example, the temperature sensors, humidity sensors, strain sensor, biosensors, and then UV sensors, and then self-powered flexible devices, which actually also the part of this kind of sensor system. So there are several sensors that we have developed, but in the last couple of years, there are several publications, a couple of patents also submitted in these devices. So what I plan is essentially, some of these things. For example, picked up 3 applications. So one is the temperature sensor that we have developed, and so this is a sensor, but the technology also have been developed particularly to address some of this diagnostic intervention. For example, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, those who have obstruction in their pulmonary system. Sleep apnea is another disease. And then there is something called emergency medical device, which on go, the patient can be monitored. So our sensors integrated with, like, this is a smart mask that we have developed. We have a sensor here. This is a temperature sensor, which is ultra fast and ultra precision. So this system can address these are the problems. So we have already system prototype built. We are basically right now, the clinical trial is going on. So we already are taking data from the patients from this system. In addition to that, there is another interesting device that we fabricated, which is a protein-based energy harvesting device, which is also acts like a sensors for monitoring wounds. So it's basically humidity sensors. So if I have time, I'll talk about this. And also a strain sensors, which can actually monitor your pulse rate, in your hand. So it's like systole, diastole pressures. In fact, the pulse wave, as you can see here. So this is your pulse. So how the pulse actually is, blood is flowing through your artery, and this notch that you see here are essentially indicating how your valves is actually closing and opening up. So this essentially there are a lot of physical parameters and physical conditions of the human body can be monitored just by analyzing this blood pulse that is passing through your artery. So we have a sensor which can detect through this. So let me start with this, the temperature sensors. So before we come to the sensors, particularly for the students, I just would like to give you that how this like starting from a fundamental physics can be pushed into a device fabrication, and that can deliver an excellent sensors for very specific applications. So we start with the very being a physicist and material scientist, we start with material. And if you take a piece of material, for example, let's say gold, silver, or silicon, for any example. So what exactly you have or how they are different is they are different, based on their atomic number. For example, if gold is gold because it has a atomic number 79, that means you have, like, every atom has 79 electron, and these electrons within these atoms are arranged in a very specific manner. And that is why gold is gold and silver is silver, similarly the silicon is silicon. Now, what you need to understand is that if you take a small piece of material out of anything, of these atoms that you think of, what you have here in the material is there's some kind of like periodic arrangement of the atoms. And as a result, what you have is, for example, if this piece of material has something like, let's say, 1000 gold atom, right? So you have a material of a piece of gold, and where you have 1000 atom. So essentially, you need to look at that 1000 atom into 79. So that many electrons, how they are arranged within the material. And what you will see that this number of, like, let's say 79,000 electrons will be actually arranged in some of this energy levels. So you have energy levels within the material where you actually feel this, where you actually put these electrons that you have. So these electrons are electrons of the materials, the total electron of the materials. But what you will see also that there is another set of energy levels which are actually empty. So there is no electron. So all these electrons that you have in the material are actually, filled in these levels, but there is another set of levels where actually there is no electron, and these two set of levels are actually separated by an energy gap. So that is essentially called the energy gap, or energy band energy gap. So based on this arrangement of these electrons in the filled state and the empty state and their gap, we actually can have three different type of materials. For example, we can have a conductor. So the conductor, we already know, like all the metals, aluminum, silver, gold. So they are all conductor. And in this conductor, what happens is this empty level and the filled level are actually overlapped to each other. So there is no gap in this case, as you see here. And therefore, these electrons can be available to the empty state because there is overlap. But if you consider this set of materials, which we call the semiconductor, there is a gap between this filled state and the empty state. And this gap is relatively low, which is of the order of few electron volt, 2 to 3 electron volt. And you can, these free levels are actually, available. So you can very easily, you can push some of this electron to this conduction, so this empty space, which we call as a conduction level. So such that you can conduct, you can transfer electron to these materials. And similarly, you have another set of material which are called insulator. So this insulator also, this gap between this filled and empty states, is very high, which is, greater than 3 electron volt. And their property, electronic property particularly, which you already know, that the conductor actually conducts so very easily, but the insulator doesn't conduct. Charge conduction, it doesn't take place, and that because you have a large gap between this filled and empty state, right? So when you conduct, that means the electron or charge has to flow through the material, and if there is no free level, so this charge cannot conduct, right? So the semiconductor is somewhere in between conductor and the insulator. So you have a relatively small gap. So very, little bit effort can actually, make this material conductor. Now, what is idea in this case is that, you take a small piece of material and then essentially, you connect with a power supply. So you take a material and then connect with power supply. And when you connect with power supply, for example, this is a battery of voltage V. So this is a negative and this is positive terminal, you connect with this material. So when you connect negative terminal at this edge, at this contact, then essentially some of the electrons from battery, you push through this conducting wire into this material. Now, whether this, for example, I have taken 10 electron from this battery and put it into this material, right? And then you are expecting that this 10 electron you're going to receive such that this 10 electron can flow through this material and you get current flow. Now, depending on this material, whether you can push this electron into the material and those electrons can flow through this material, that depends on the material property. For example, conductor, you can easily flow electron, but the semiconductor, you cannot flow easily. So you need to really push little bit of energy such that you can overcome this gap, and then electron can come to this empty state, and then you can flow the electron. Charge can conduct. But in case of insulator, whatever voltage that you put here, they never conduct, because these are all insulating, some sort of like polymer that we know that all this electrical wire has an insulating layer. So those are which are non-conductor. So they basically have a larger electron gap. Now, when we think that, that the electron, so as I said, that let's say 10 electron you transfer here and you want to receive the 10 electron back here. So how these electrons are flowing through this material, that gives you another kind of parameter which is called as the mobility of this charge. So those who have already studied this solid state physics, particularly the physics students, know that how the mobility can be defined in a solid. So the mobility is like when a mobility is high, that means how easily these electrons can flow. Mobility is low means the traveling for this electron is difficult. So it's not really very smooth for that. So the idea of having these slides here to understand that we can have different kind of material and they have different electronic property. We can have a conductor, semiconductor, insulator, and you can exploit these materials for different kind of application, right? So I'm going to show you, for example, that what exactly happens, particularly for, let's say, I have the insulator material. So insulator material, what you have is that, particularly, as I said here, that when you actually apply the voltage across a particular material, let's say the length is d, then what you do is that you apply some kind of electric field, and that electric field is essentially the voltage that you apply divided by distance of this, the two contacts. So this electric field actually drives the electrons from one end to another end, right? Now, as I said that, if you have a conductor, then electron can freely move. If you have semiconductor, it's not that easy, but still electron can move. But in case of insulator, you cannot move the electrons there. So what exactly happens in case of insulator? So you have sort of like a polarization. So electron doesn't move, but the material get polarized. And the polarization means that, if for example, if you consider even a single atom, and if you put electric field across the atom, then the positive nucleus and the electron clouds across around the nucleus, they actually get shifted and it make a kind of dipole. And that dipole is again, it can be mathematically right that it is Q into D. So D is the distance between the positive charge cloud and positive charge and negative charge cloud, right? So that's the dipole. Now, if we apply electric field, to this kind of dipoles, then what exactly you have is that positive charge gets some kind of force which is called Q into E, right? Because of this electric field. Negative field get the similar force but in opposite direction. And because of these two force, in two ends, so this dipole get a torque, and this dipole started, moving along the electric field direction. So you get a torque and it start moving. And that's what we call is that the dipole get polarized along the electric field. Now, so this is a very simple theory that normally, we all know that, when this dipole get polarized, we calculate a component of the polarization, because the dipole may not be fully polarized. So some level of polarization can happen. And there we calculate a component of this dipole moment, which we call as along the field direction, which we call a PZ. Now, what is so important with this PZ? Because a material, so in actually applied to the electric field, then what happens is that this level of polarization is different. And when this level of polarization is different, then one property of this material is changing, which is called the dielectric constant of this material. And this one actually, can be understood from this classic Clausius-Mosotty relation for dielectric material, which is again, those who are physics students can actually look at the Kittle's book, and you'll see that this essentially connects with the dielectric constant, which is epsilon r, with the two parameter. One is called the alpha. Alpha is called the electrical polarizability. So electrical polarizability, as I said, that atoms, the electron cloud and the positive charge, the nucleus can be separated and make some kind of polarization. So that is called the electronic polarizability of the system, which normally is there for all material. But you also have a PZ component, which is essentially if you have a permanent dipole moment in the material. So the permanent dipole moment, so there are some materials which has this permanent dipole moment, which are called the ferroelectric material. And if you can polarize them, then you see that how this dielectric constant changes with the PZ. So that's the component polarization component. And that goes with square of that. That means a little bit change in PZ can make significant change in the epsilon R, right? So that's how now, if you design a device where, let's say, some of this external analyte actually changing this polarization vector, a polarization component, and that if you just keep track of this polarization constant, like dielectric constant, then actually you'll be able to say that particular sense that particular parameter. For example, the temperature. Let's say temperature. You have a material which responds to temperature. So that means its polarization changes with temperature, and when you increase the temperature, this PZ changes, and therefore epsilon R changes, and that can be reflected to your some of this device parameter, and then you can sense temperature. So that's how actually you design temperature sensor. So that's the fundamental understanding of developing a particular sensor. Now, what we did here is essentially, we use a transistor, organic field effect transistor. And here what you see that there are several materials. For example, source and drain. The source and drain are essentially metal. The gate is also metal. Then we have a semiconductor material, which we call as the organic semiconductor, because the semiconductor, inorganic and organic material both can show the semiconducting property. So we have a semiconductor layer, and then we have a dielectric layer. So all these different type of materials are put in a very specific manner. Then you design a device which is called the transistor, right? So many of you have used it. Now, if I replace one of these materials, so that material can be either semiconductor or insulator. Now, in this example, we have used this insulator dielectric material, and this dielectric material can be, as I said, the different kind of dielectric material. So which has a permanent, let's say, permanent electric dipole moment already you have. And as I said, that this material is called a ferroelectric material, or there are a lot of polymers which has a permanent dipole moment. For example, let's say a polymer molecule having hydroxyl group, OH group. So the OH itself is a dipoles. So it has a dipole moment. So if you have a permanent dipole moment and you use that material here, and when you apply the field, which is called the gate field between source and the gate, because of this field, there will be some kind of polarization. And the polarization means all this, let's say these are my dipoles, these arrows are dipoles. When you apply this gate field, then these dipoles essentially try to get aligned with the electric field. And when they get aligned, then essentially they induce some additional charges across this interface, and that can be added up with the current that already flowing between source and drain. So you put some voltage between source and drain, you get a current. But from this third terminal, you induce additional charges here, and that can actually change. Now, this induction of charges, if depends on, let's say, temperature, then you can sense temperature out of this. Right? So this is what exactly we did. So we select different type of materials, and we put together to design this device, which is called the field effect transistor. And as you see here, that you have a flexible substrate, conductor, dielectric, and semiconductor material, and again conductor. And you choose the materials in a way that your device is actually flexible. So you can actually bend it, you can twist it, you can stretch it, but your material property doesn't really affect the performance of the device. So you can fabricate device out of these materials. Now what you do is that we fabricated the sensors, which is, so I'll not come detail, I'll not discuss detail about these things. So what you have is we used a material which is called barium titanide. So the barium titanide is a ferroelectric material again, and its dielectric constant changes with temperature. Now what you see here, that I have increased the temperature T, right, and measure the capacitor. So capacitor means you have gate which is a conductor, Semiconductor also is a conductor. In between you have an insulator or dielectric. So it's as if like a parallel plate capacitor. So if you measure the capacitor with temperature, then you see that the capacitor increases, right? And that capacitor, as I said, that in other way, that if you can measure this current, right? So current will be also changes because your dielectric constant changing, capacitor changing, so the current will also change, and that can reflect with some kind of connection between current and the temperature. So that clearly says that now if you have this device and increase the temperature, then your current will change, and that basically because you're changing dielectric material. So you can very well that use this device as a temperature sensors. Now you see the results that what you see here is that this sensors is stretchable, so you can bend it. As you see that we have tested with bending radius, so 2 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 6 millimeter. So you can bend, but still device up to 4 millimeter, they are still no change in mobility of this device. So there is no change. So they are flexible. And then you measure for example, so this is actually our temperature sensor. So we have one temperature sensor here, which is micron in size. And then what you do is that you measure current, and as you see here, and so this is the response. So what you do is that you just touch the temperature, touch with your finger the temperature sensor, and then you see the current is changing. And as you see here, that's the response. That every time you touch the sensor, right, the current increases, and the moment you take it off, so it is decreasing. So you get some sort of like a response here, and this is like 70 times repetition. So you just keep on tapping on the temperature sensor, and you see that your body temperature is immediately measured, right? And what we found is that this is a extremely good temperature sensor so far reported, and it only use like very low voltage, like 1.2 volt. So 1.2 volt means like a sensors can be operated with just one battery, right? One pencil battery or any small battery which has like 3 volt, 1.5 volt. So that can be operated. And these are very cheap. And most importantly, its response time is 24 millisecond. So the response time in the sense that, if you compare with the normal mercury-based temperature sensor thermometer that we use to measure our body temperature, which takes almost like 1.5 minutes, right? And 1.5 minutes to take your body to measure your body temperature. But this temperature actually takes fraction of second, which only take around 25 millisecond, to measure the body temperature. And nevertheless, like it has a very high precision. Very small change of temperature sensor of the order of millikelvin can be measured with this temperature sensor. Now we actually demonstrate that how good our temperature sensors are. So we actually applied, we put this temperature sensor to a mice, right? And we give the anesthesia to this mice. So what happens is that when you give anesthesia to any mammals in this, like even the human being, so when you get anesthesia, so our body temperature falls. Now for us, since we have a huge body mass volume, so the small change in temperature we may not able to monitor. But what exactly happens is that for small animals like a mouse, this change is very significant, and we did measure. For example, that we did this is a mild anesthesia dose that was given to this animal. And you see that, so the initial around 37 degrees centigrade, that's the body temperature. It actually falls by 3 degrees, almost 3 degree temperature, right? And then you just leave it. So this mouse actually recovers over time the same body temperature. So almost like, a few hundred seconds, it get his body temperature back. And then again, we have given the second dose, and you see that again the temperature falls, and you can monitor. So clearly, these temperature sensors can actually monitor this such a small change, 2 to 3 degrees centigrade change, in a very efficient way. And from there, actually calculate that very small, like of the order of few millikelvin, also it can actually measure. So these sensors, as it has a capability to measure very fast and very small variation of temperature, there can be a lot of applications that you can think of with the temperature. And one of these applications that we did is that as you see here, this temperature sensor is mounted on a mask. And we also have developed this electronics. So it has a Bluetooth connection, as you see. So these are also designed here. And it's very small, of the order of a coin, right? And which actually incorporated into the mask itself. And what it does is that when you breathe in and breathe out, then basically your temperature of the breathing, the gas, air and inhale air. So there's a different temperature. So that small variation of temperature you can constantly monitor, and your breathing pattern can be monitored very systematically. So that's what we did. And then we also check that how good these sensors are. So we actually check that, it can measure that, for example, these are dipping into the water, and you see this response here, right? So it's a different temperature like 8 degree, 26 degree, and 60 degree. So you see that the response current is actually changing with the temperature, and they are extremely stable even inside the water. Not only that, they are stable in various other environment like different pH solution, salt solution. So they are also stable, because so that confirms also that this temperature sensor even can be used for different kind of in vivo measurements, like inside the body also you can measure. You can use these sensors to monitor your body temperature. Now, what is the applications of these temperature sensors that we have developed? Because this is extremely fast and very highly precise. So wherever, like you have very small change in body temperature, and you can monitor with this system. For example, the febrile seizure. So that's normally happens to the infant baby. Suddenly like temperature changes by a few degree, and most of the times this lasts only few minutes. And most of the times that the parents actually overlook that. So it momentarily the temperature increases, and because of this seizure attack, and the body temperature increases and then it goes down. And several such attacks actually can leads to epilepsy. So that is why what normally is done is that this kind of patients, this kind of infants are actually monitored in clinics, right? Incubators, so they constantly monitor the body temperature variation, those who are susceptible. But of course, that's not very easy. So if you have let's say, temperature sensors with a band, so you can wrap it on the infant's hand, and it can monitor, and the temperature will be constantly monitored to your mobile app. So moment the temperature started increasing, the parents can get a signal that the temperature is increasing, and they can take care of it. So this kind of applications, this temperature sensor can be used where you have small change of body temperature need to be monitored. Similarly, for newborn baby also, the doctors need to monitor the temperature constantly, right? And nevertheless, like the basal body temperature change also is need to monitor, which is almost like 0.6 to 0.7 degree, very small change that also can be monitored with this. And of course, real-time monitoring of body temperature for different kind of emotional change also can be monitored with this kind of sensors. Now, as I said that we actually developed this mask. As you see here that it is a demonstration of the sensor mask that we have developed. And as you see that this is flexible in nature, and these are the breathing pattern. And you can actually monitor how many times you're breathing in a minute. And there are some standard numbers. So if it is beyond that, then of course you need to go to doctor and find out what is the problem. Right. So we have demonstrated that while you're running, you're talking, you're sitting. So how your breathing pattern actually changes, which is continuously can be monitored with this mask. Next is that we have developed this, integrated this to detect one of the most important, most severe disease. In fact, it's called the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. And what we do here is, as I already mentioned, that when you breathe in and breathe out, so this inhale and exhale air out, so they have, there are two different parameters you can associate with this inhale and exhale air. One is the temperature would be different because when you inhale it, so the inhale temperature would be like the room temperature, but when it's coming out from your body, so there is something like 2 to 3 or few degree change in temperature. So that small change can be monitored. Nevertheless, humidity concentration also for this will be different. And then you can actually measure it with the temperature sensors and humidity sensor. Now, what happens for the COPD patient is that if you look at this passage, when you actually breathe, if you look at this passage, so this passage actually get blocked, right? And because of various reasons, and mostly it is basically due to the exposure of harmful gas pollution. So that's the reason of the cause. So it get blocked, and when it's get blocked, then your body is constantly getting less oxygen, and that affecting your all other organs, right? So particularly, and that is what exactly is the COPD. So you have some kind of obstruction in your pulmonary system, and your body is getting less oxygen. So this need to be monitored continuously by the doctors, and all these COPD patients basically they need to visit to clinic to monitor that how much oxygen your body is getting, right? And that's, I mean, this kind of treatment is not very cheap. I mean, it's very expensive treatment. And the most of the patient actually do not visit clinic because of the cost, right? So that is one of the problem. And the second problem is that we can address is the sleep apnea. The sleep apnea also is like when somebody is sleeping, the passage is got blocked because of relaxation of this muscle, and that's why normally we snore. And when you snore, your actually breathing pattern got blocked. Now. So that normally is tested by sleep test, and there are some sleep labs where you can go and check that when you are sleeping, what is actually the level of blockage that you have, and how many breath you miss while actually snoring, and that actually tells you that how much less oxygen that your body is getting, which develops a lot of critical problem, right? And so these systems that we have developed actually can address also that. Now, of course, sleep apnea, most of us, many of us, for example, I have some number here, and this is in fact some of these articles, data from our country. As you can see, like almost 1 billion people worldwide is suffering from this disease, and 34 million Indian, which is of course the 2015 report. And most alarming is that 82% of Indian are not diagnosed because due to lack of diagnostic facility available. Because as I said that you really need to go to sleep lab, and I have checked that the cost of one sitting in sleep lab is almost around 20,000, even in Kolkata 20,000, 15 to 20,000. So that's really very expensive for any for Indians to check, and therefore 82% patients actually are not diagnosed. So I'll show you that the system that we have developed can actually resolve this problem, and has given a very affordable solution. Now, if you look at the more alarming scenario of this COPD, so essentially 55.3 million cases in 2016, right? So that's the Lancet Global Healthcare Journals as per their report, and 250 million people in worldwide. Okay, so this is not less than a pandemic that is going on. So it was reported in 2017 in India that this disease actually killed about 1 million people. So as you understand its dimension of this disease and our ignorance. So of course we understand that the pandemic going on, so many people are dying, but these are the people who are dying without knowledge of many of us, right, because of this disease. And if you look at this, the other Indian scenario, that 20% total worldwide COPD patients are coming from India, and 32% of them are not curable. So these are called the COPD burden, right? And more than 90% COPD death occur in low or middle income countries, including our one. So this is another report, another data I want to show to just understand the dimension of this disease, that the cumulative expenditure in one single year. So the cumulative expenditure is 32,000 crores. So that's as per the report of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in 2002. This is in our country. So 32,000 crore is essentially this COPD patient pay for their treatment. So it's huge amount of money that goes in out of these patients, and it's that's why I say that it's really expensive treatment. Now, if you look at some of these things, so as per the gold standard of this detection of this COPD is called the spirometer, right? And only 10% of the pulmonologists use in India, they use only spirometry to detect this disease. Now, so understand that the gold standard of this detection system is not being used, only 10% pulmonologists itself. Now, if you look at the other physicians, chest physicians, they use 30% of them, 70% general physicians, 90% of general practitioners, 80% pediatrician. They do not use spirometer to detect COPD or asthma-like disease. So they just detect this disease based on some of these, symptoms. And therefore, they cannot predict the severity of the disease, and the treatment also is not proper. And that leads to somewhere here, this 32%, that's, in a couple of years, they become COPD burden and they cannot recover from this disease. So this is the scenario in our country. And nevertheless, because of this COVID-19, many of you already know that the COPD patients are more susceptible because their lung is already damaged, right, because of this. And it is already reported that the 10% COVID-19 patients are having a lung-related disease. So in coming years, you will see that this COPD number of COPD patient is, in fact, it will be increasing in a huge number. Now, what we have done is that, as I said, that we integrated our system, the smart mask that I call smart mask has been integrated with an Android app, so that we have developed, because you use the mask on your face and your data is actually monitored in your mobile app, and the mobile app is connected to a cloud servers, which normally we're using the Amazon Web Service. So it's cloud server, so the data is immediately transferred into a cloud server, and there you can do all sort of analysis. Particularly, I'll show you this the spirometer. So how much time I have, by the way?
Sir, please wrap up within 2-3 minutes.
Okay, fine. So within a few, you use all this analysis you can do at the cloud, and then you can essentially predict the severity of the disease. So I just keep couple of slides here. So there are yes. So this is what exactly you see, that the system that we have developed. So this is the Android app, and what is done is that your pulse rate, your heart rate, and your oxygen saturation level is all together. They are constantly monitored within the same app, and this app is essentially connected to a cloud server, which you see that within the server, your breathing pattern is monitored, your pulse rate is monitored, your oxygen saturation level is monitored. Now, for any time if you lose, let's say, some of this breathing, right, some of the breathing you lose, then of course your oxygen saturation level will be affected, and you'll be able to see. So that is where actually the sleep apnea is used. So all right, so I'll just keep all those things, and then I'll just stop with the final the device that we have implemented. So we essentially well, so I'll just move here. Yes, so this is the spirometer that we have developed, as you see here. So this is the actual spirometer that used in the clinic, and from there, some of the parameters are calculated, like FVC, FEV. So these parameters are calculated, and from this shape of this response, your breathing response, they actually can predict the severity of disease, like whether it's mild obstruction, severe obstruction, and restriction. And that is the problem of this using the spirometer, because it needs a trained technicians to analyze the data to understand the severity of this disease, and that is not very easy. And therefore, what we have used is that we also have, so these are all the data taken from the patients from using our system. So it's exactly similar to that, and you can also calculate all the parameters that normally this gold standard system spirometer you get. So you can also calculate all this parameter from this, and shape analysis can be very easily implemented into the cloud server based on machine learning algorithm. That is what we are working on. So this analysis will be much faster. The technician or doctors do not really need to be worried about doing the analysis here, because everything will be analyzed in the cloud server, and immediately you get the prediction in your mobile app very easily. And this measurement also can be done at home, because this is small mask. It will be costing about 2,500 rupees, and it can be even kept at home, those who are suffering from this disease. So this is the final version of the systems that we have designed. So as you see here, so this is the final. So I have the sensors here. So this is the measuring electronics that I've showed. So this the complete system looks like a small handheld spirometer. And as I said, that the clinical trial of this data of this system is going on. And I have, in fact, some of this data, like for different patients that we have collected, the non-smoker who has already affected from the COVID, what is their response? And as you can see that from the safe analysis, the criticality of the disease can be monitored. So I'll not go further. So I'll stop here, and I'll wait for your questions. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful and informative talk. And nothing to mention that you are doing a really great job. So let us quickly take some questions. So first question I want to ask, sir. This may sound very naive for you, but I want to hear your experience that as a physics student, physics teacher, when you shifted your research interest to medical science, I mean, you are doing interdisciplinary job. So did you face any challenges to shift your research topic from physics to medical science, and how to tackle those things? I mean, we also try to do those things, interdisciplinary things, but most of the time what happens, I have no knowledge of that new subject. So did you face this type of problem in your...
Oh, well, I think it's a huge challenge. It's huge challenge, as I said. In just last couple of years, I have shifted this. The device sensors that we have been fabricating for decade. But the thing is that the pushing the things that you're doing in the lab to the next level. So because in our system, we are academician, and there is no connection between academics and industry. So it is basically a huge gap. Now, if you as a scientist need to fill this gap, is a huge challenge. Now, so it's a huge challenge. I mean, I cannot tell you that how much effort that has gone to this work, because once I have the sensor, I'll tell you, the sensor has been fabricated in 2018. We published the paper and we submitted patent as well. From 18 to 21, we have been working to develop this electronics, working with, I have a separate team who are not academicians. So basically all they're doing is, so there are a couple of engineers, there are software engineers also on board. So they actually are working. So it's not like my work is done in 2018. And then this, some of these young students, mainly, electronics engineers, and then some IT person also are working. So they have pushed this project to that far, and all I had to do is to kind of communicate or connect these people together and support them, right? So and as you see here, it's a huge, as I said, the huge gap is there, but it's not impossible. So if you really want to do something, there is a way. It's difficult, but it is possible. Yes. So it is possible. Let's not be disappointed that the system has a difficulty. Any system has a difficulty, but you need to find out some way and be positive that things can be done, and the way you are looking. Maybe it will take a little time, but it can be done. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And sir, one more question. That as these self-monitoring kits are coming in the market, I mean,
Yes.
wearable kits. And generally those kits are, as you told, that are connected by Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or internet. I mean, all those radiations, are not they harmful for our health also? I mean, like, we are now being surrounded by all these machines. Phone is also here, but along with that, if I wear some monitoring kit for my health also, those digital watches, do not they harm our health?
I think there is some level of harmness, but I don't really know the exact details. But we carry a mobile phone all the time,
Yes.
right? So mobile phone, if carrying mobile phone is okay, why not to have a couple of sensors which can actually alert you when you need, right? Right. So I think that's I understand there are some problem. Maybe like every technology has its negative side, right? But there are positive side, and one has to think about the positive side of this technology. That's what I think.
So another question has come from Shashwati Demondal, that when are we going to have these kind of medical devices in hand?
Yeah, so that is what I am. As I said, that it's a huge work. If you ask some scientist to form a company is not easy, right? So we are working on this. We are trying to find out some companies who can actually take over this. There are some support from government, of course. So we have running projects from where actually we are executing this work. As I said that there is a doctor on board. We are taking data from the patient. So there are a lot of process, clinical, ethical clearance that has to be done. I mean, there's so much of works other than your academics that one has to do. So really, a lot of hard work is going on, and we are working on this system such that it come out in the market, such that people can get benefited out of this. So the target is that by next year, hopefully, we'll have a startup company out of this. Or if we cannot do this, then of course we'll transfer the technology to some companies. So we are hoping by in a year or so, at least we'll have something in the market.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And there are no more questions, so let us thank Dr. Goswami again. Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time, and no need to say that you are doing very great job, and we all hope that.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay. Please continue.
Yes.
Sir, like in medical background, we have some of the device like accelerometer, say pulse oximeter to measure the body kind of things. But how do these companies implement this technology into a smartwatch, a tiny smartwatch, and they give like very accurate results? How do they manage?
Yeah, so that is what is the development of the technology, because as you see that the sensors that you have designed is a transistor, right? So it is a transistor, and we have incorporated some of this material there such that it can sense temperature. Now, integrating this temperature sensor into electronics is a big challenge, right? And then, nevertheless, you need to do a clinical trial. So that's for any medical device. So that's the standard, that you have to do a clinical trial. So you need to take, let's say, something like 1,000 patients. You need to first check before it come to the market. So you have to constantly monitor the body parameter of the patient and confirm that your system is working fine. So once this is done, then only it comes to to market. So when you get from the market, then you know that it has gone through a lot of processes, including trials, and a body has been. A group of people have confirmed that yes, this system can be it can actually come out to market for use. So there is a standard process for developing technology from science. So one has to follow that.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? So if there are no more questions, then let us thank Dr. Goswami again. Thank you, sir,
Thank you
for
so much.
giving your time for us. And let us now move to our next session. And I request Professor Daniel of Department of Botany, MS University, Vadodara, to deliver his presentation. Over to you, sir. Professor Daniel?
Yeah.
You may please continue, sir.
I'm sharing my.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Yeah, my slide is visible.
Not till now, but I think it will come. So till now it is not visible.
See, I have some problem with this.
Sir, kindly open the slide, sir.
क्या?
सर स्लाइड को ओपन कीजिए, फिर वो शो करेगा, दिखेगा यहाँ. प्रेजेंटेशन तो ऑन है, आप स्लाइड ओपन करिए, उसको मिनिमाइज करके, ब्राउजर को मिनिमाइज करके स्लाइड ओपन करिए.
अभी आया? Now it has come.
नहीं सर, अभी नहीं आया.
Now?
सर ओपन कीजिए ना, वो आपका पीपीटी ओपन कीजिए, स्लाइड ओपन.
नहीं, ये तो ओपन है अभी, मेरा तो इधर तो ओपन है.
अच्छा ओपन है, तो सर एक बार और स्टॉप प्रेजेंटिंग करके फिर से ओपन करिए.
स्टॉप शेयरिंग.
हाँ, फिर आप शेयर कीजिए. योर इंटायर स्क्रीन करिएगा सर.
What about now?
सर अभी तक नहीं हुआ है. सर प्रेजेंट नाउ पे जाइए, योर इंटायर स्क्रीन सेलेक्ट कीजिए और शेयर करिए, मिडिल में टच कर.
Present now your entire screen.
योर इंटायर स्क्रीन, देन मिडिल में क्लिक कीजिए और शेयर कीजिए, तो शेयर ऑप्शन ऑन हो जाएगा. छोटा सा बॉक्स दिख रहा है आपको, वहां टच कीजिए.
हाँ.
टच कीजिए और शेयर कर दीजिए. शेयर ऑप्शन पे क्लिक कीजिए. हाँ, अब इसको मिनिमाइज करके सर अपना प्रेजेंटेशन ओपन करिए, ब्राउजर को मिनिमाइज कर दीजिए. हाँ हाँ, दिख रहा है सर, ठीक है.
दिख रहा है?
हाँ सर, ठीक है.
Shall I start? Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, sir, proceed.
I thank the organizers for presenting my views on value addition and bioprospecting. Now, these days, everybody is interested in plants because of their economic importance and the need. And we have a number of crops. Now, along with these crops, you can add value to these crops. And that is called value addition. And now see, we have a product. For example, you have rice. And in rice, you can add some other character. And so the value of rice will be increased. And another one, you just see this. See, there are commercial crops are there. We have rice, wheat, roots of sarpagandha. But there are a number of parts of these plants are thrown out. For example, you know, in North India, the farm waste is a big problem. Now, second is medicinal plant. I will come to this. Then weeds. Then second part of this one is bioprospecting. In bioprospecting, you can look for new medicines, new economic products like food, spices, resins, wood, etc., dyes, biopesticides, and biofuel. Now you add value to any economic product and there is value addition. Now, so it will fetch a higher price. and many people will be encouraged to take this as a career. And for example, farm waste. Now, the carbon dioxide that is due to the farm waste is a big problem in North India, everywhere. That carbon pollution is there, fog is there. Now, can we use them? See, farm waste is, the stem and leaves of all your rice, wheat, maize, and all that. Can we find out a way to use them profitably? See, and they contain large amount of nutrients. They contain fibers. They contain a lot of other metabolites. So, if you can return back to the soil without pollution and spreading of the diseases, and this will be something very, very great work. And from farm waste, you can have biogas, you can have fertilizer. See, you can find out certain microbe which will be easily degrading this farm waste, then vermicompost. And then another field now is biodegradable plastic from agricultural waste, because all these waste contain basic cellulose as the raw material. Now this can be converted to cellulose acetate and then to other derivatives which can be converted to biodegradable plastics. Now another important is wheat straw. It can be used by bacteria to produce polyhydroxybutyrate, another ester. Now, wheats as medicinals. Many a times we talk big things about the plants, medicinal plants we have. But they are there in your backyard. They are there on the roadside. They are there in the farms. They are there in the wasteland. And they can be collected and supplied to pharmaceuticals. Now, I had a plan like this, even to ask the farmers to grow medicinal plants, or rather don't throw away the weeds. Collect the weeds, identify them, classify them, and supply to the pharmaceuticals. This idea I shared with the late Varghese Kurian, father of White Revolution, Amul. And he liked it so much. He told his people that why don't you arrange a meeting with Dr. Daniel? And then the problem is that those people, his subordinate, they thought that I need some grant and all that, and they gave me a cold shoulder, and I left the whole thing. And the problem with the medicinal plants in the field is use of pesticide. I wanted to collect a lot of plants from these fields, but these fields contain a lot of residual pesticides, and this add to pollution, and they are not good also. And now, can you see and hear? Hello?
Yes, sir. Fine, sir.
Now see, I have shown 4 different plants. See, this is our Phyllanthus, Amaris, Voyamla. And this is one of the best medicine for liver cirrhosis and any liver problem, good for acidity. And we go for leaf 52 and all those other big medicine costing very high. When you have this plant immediately after rain, that will be surrounding you everywhere. Then Bringaraj, Bringaraj is very good for hair growth and also for liver. Then this is Boravia. Boravia is Punardava. Then this Gokru, they are all growing as weeds. And then see this one, Solanum nigrum. The root of this plant is one of the Dashmula. Everybody has heard about Dashmula arista. Solanum xanthocarpum. And this is another one. And the root of this xanthocarpum is used as a component of Dashmula. Then Enicostoma, Mamajam. This is one of the very good medicine for diabetes. And then Sphiranthus, Gorakmundi. And these are all very much around you, and they are going waste. If you want to collect them, then it's an easy task, but nobody would like to do it because they don't know it. And see, this is Oldenlandia, one of the Perpetaga. And I prepared a medicine, I don't know. I was not introduced. I don't know whether I was introduced in the beginning. I have a pharmaceutical now. We have about 15 products. And this plant, which is a very common weed on the roadside, this is Perpetaga, Oldenlandia, Corymbosa, and this is Vernonia cinerea. And these two plants, only these two plants I use for sinus problems. For sinus, there is no medicine in allopathy. And my daughter had this problem. So she used to weep, Papa, I cannot go to college. So मैंने doctor को पूछा, तो doctor said that you will have to get it operated. And that is a risky thing. So because seeing her misery, I collected two plants which are said to be good for fever. This Oldenlandia and Vernonia, and powdered it, smashed it, powdered it, and boiled it. And the decoction I have given to her daily 2 times. And within 5 days, her sinus problem was completely relieved. Then I told this incident to my Chancellor, Madam Mrinalini Devi Puvar, Chancellor of MS University. It's a private university. Yes. Chancellor is somebody from the royal house. And I have prepared a medicine which is named after her, Mrinalini. An excellent medicine for any allergy and sinus problems. And for sinus problem, antibiotics do not work, remember. Even though allopathy doctors will say that you take antibiotic continuously, because there are 2 big cavities on your face, and antibiotics will be acting only on the surface. Then this is Bela. Bela is for strength. And this is another Trianthema monogyna. This is another Punardava. And these are very common around us. I don't know. If you know them, you can collect them and sell it to some other pharmaceutical. And if you say that you are a botanist and you have collected it and botanically identified, any industry will be very happy to take it from you. Now, see, studies on discarded parts of the medicinal plant. Dashmula. Dashmula, there are 10 roots are there. And there are other plants in which roots are used. And there are plants in which only fruits are used. In plants, there are only seeds are used, and the rest of the plant material is thrown out, where only flowers are used. Thataki, where only flowers are used. In Adatoda, Adusi, only leaves are used. Now, you get a tremendous lot of discarded material from the non-medicinal plant, and you will have to study them, whether they contain the same compound as that of the root. These are the 10 plants used as Dashmula that can be available from anywhere, and of which first five are the herbs. And first 5 till Desmodium, Pseudarthera, Solanum, Tribulus. These 5 are herbs. And to get roots in large amount means maybe 50 kilos dry material, it is impossible. So therefore, the whole plant is used in all industries. If you just see the Shamula arista, they may not contain only roots. They will contain the whole plants, and they call it Samula. And then the other 6 are the trees. How to get these many trees, 200 kilograms of roots of eagle marmalose. So people do not use them, and many people do not know there are 10 plants are involved in the Shmula. And this is, I already said. Now, if you see a root text, many of you, I just wanted to bring to your notice about the root text. That is Aconitum, Adivish, then Vinga. Vinga is lucky because now people know that the Vinga whole plant contain more vincristin than the roots. That is because of the studies which anybody can do. You just have to compare the Vinga root chemical with that of the Vinga leaf or Vinga stem. Then Mucuna only roots are used. Then Rauwolfia only roots are used. The stem, leaves, they are all thrown out. IQAC and berberis, only roots are used. Aristolochia, only roots are used. Licorice, only roots are used. Shadavari, only roots are used. The rest are going waste. Leaf, these are the leaf dregs. Now these are the fruit and seed dregs, and the vegetative parts are just going waste. Now you can do substitutes of common plants. You know, Perpetaga, the original Perpetaga is Fumaria parviflora, and that is a North Indian plant. So all over India, different people are using different plants like Orlandia, Corymbosa, Polycarpia, Justicia, Rungia, Peristrophe, Bicaliculata. You just compare the chemical components of Fumaria parviflora with this by a TLC or a paper chromatograph, and you will see what are the components present there. If the alkaloid present in Fumaria are present in these, any one of these, this can be a very good substitute. And similarly, you just see licorice, glycyrrhiza, we are getting it from Iran, Persian countries. Now we started growing glycyrrhiza in India, but the nematodes, they used to get into the roots of licorice. So, you know, the roots are useless here. Therefore, even the leaves and roots of Abras, Alaisicarpus longifolius, Merua, and Tavernera. Tavernera contain almost the same compound. One of my colleagues in MS University, he has identified the same compound here. Then Polygala siniga, milkwort, you know, this is the one you are taking for increasing the breast milk. And there are about 4 plants which are used as substitutes. Passion beta, that is, which can break stones in your kidney. Bergenia ligulata is the original passion beta, but there are so many plants. There are only 5 I listed here, but there are many other plants which are used as passion beta. Even, I just forgot. In Kerala, they use Anascoperia is used as. Now, this is about finding out the new substitutes. Then, seasonal and geographic variation studies are almost nil. Say, it depends on if it is a perennial plants means growing throughout the year. Usme season mein kuch variation hai. That study nobody has done it, because many of these secondary metabolites are due to stress, and only because, you know, the plants growing in Himalayas, that is your cannabis growing in Himalayas will not contain your cannabidiols, that hallucinogenic plants. And the cannabis same growing in Europe is the source of hemp seed and hemp oil. And only those plants growing in tropical countries like tropical India, they contain these hallucinogenic components. That is geographical variation, and you should know whether in winter it contains maximum compound, or whether it is in summer it contains the compound, or whether before flowering, before fruiting, or when new leaves come, it contains more compound. Then you can harvest it. Then at all major season and differently ecological question and peak time of active principles also are to be studied. Then ethnobotanical study, this is very easy, but once you get a plant which is said to have a particular character, you just find out which plant is similar to that, taxonomically nearest, in the same family or the same tribe. Then look for the published literature of the plant to which you want to compare it, and follow the same procedure, the new plant. So you will be coming to know whether your ethnobotanically important plant contains the same compound. If there is any disturbance, you can please tell me. Then improving methodology. Now in Ayurveda, I think if audience is there, Ayurvedic experts are there, they should excuse me. See, many a times in many of the people, there are about 15,000 or 20,000 manufacturers are there. Herbal manufacturers, Ayurvedic manufacturers are there. All of them, they extract a plant material in water for 2 hours, filter it, and then take the extract and concentrate it. Now, when I started my business, I told my manufacturer, see, I am doing a third party manufacturing. Somebody else is doing it for me. I told him that if you extract it only once, you take 50 kilos of material, add 500 liters of water, and you boil it for 2 hours, only 60% of the compounds will come in, because there is a saturation in that particular solvent. See, the solvent will not take in, it is saturated with compounds. So your 40% compounds are not extracted. So you can re-extract it with the same amount of, I extract 3 times my material with that also deionized water. That means there are no lead and other. And then solvent extraction, which nobody is practicing. See, many a times Ayurvedic medicines are prepared in ghee or in oil. Now, in large scale, it's difficult to prepare that, because the amount of compound present in solvent will be much lesser. So you will have to extract with a solvent, maybe alcohol. Industrially, there is isopropyl alcohol, industrial alcohol is there. Now, you just see my example. I have a product for heart problem, that is Cardusa. This contain Arjuna. Arjuna contain water-soluble compounds mainly. But ginger, adrak and allium, garlic. These two also, my manufacturer said, see, sir, we boil all of them. Arjuna, adrak and lasan. We boil them in water. So we took about 50 kilograms of material and boiled it, and we got about 2 kilos of extract. And luckily, because I am a phytochemist, because I was about 45 years of experience, I just took that extract and tested for gingerols, which are the active compounds of ginger, and sulfides, which are the active compounds of garlic. No allicin, no sulfur compound, no gingerol in our extract. So then I remembered that in practical classes, I used to give practical to my phytochemistry students. If you want to extract gingerol from ginger, use methanol. Similarly, garlic, we used to extract in alcohol. I said, if I am doing it in laboratory to take out the compound and do TLC, then why can't I use there? I told my manufacturer, he said, sir, we can use isopropyl alcohol. So we are extracting 2-3 compounds, this garlic and adrak, in this one, isopropyl alcohol first, and then take out all those alcohol soluble compound and then extracting them in water. Or there can be sequential extraction. This is what I was saying. First you extract them. See, your Vithania, ashwagandha contain about 45 compounds which are insoluble in water. Contrary to that, ashwagandha contains 30 compounds which are soluble in water. So if you boil ashwagandha root in water, how much active compound you will get it? And this people have to use it. See, I was listening to a paper presentation competition in Kerala, where somebody from one college near Kottakkal Ayurvedichala. Kottakkal is one of the most famous, reliable Ayurvedic manufacturers. They have taken the residue, one particular residue from a preparation, and re-extracted. They got double the compounds. And then this, somebody has to do it and tell them. Now we come to the next, bioprospecting. See, these are interrelated. Bioprospect means finding out a new source among your relatives. See, we normally use, in that house, if the boy is good, the girl also should be brilliant. Or if the girl is smart, the brother also should be smart. That means within a family, they contain similar characters. See, this is the basis of chemotaxonomy. Now, bioprospecting is prospects of finding another source of beneficial chemical among related plants of a taxonomic group with the same external features, that is morphology, with the same genetic makeup, that is molecular taxonomy, and the same metabolic pathways, that is the chemical taxonomy. And a new source can be discovered. See your Rauwolfia serpentina. Now, there is a closely related plant, Rauwolfia tetraphylla. That is very common, growing as a weed. Somebody just compared these two. They found out that Rauwolfia tetraphylla roots contain more reserpine and contain other less toxic other alkaloids. Now, this should be sought on the near relatives of source plants. If you refer to a chemotaxonomical study of any family, then they will tell you what are the characters of a family, chemical characters of a family, or ethnobotanical studies. Now, need for bioprospecting. See, we know that we are the most brilliant creatures in this planet Earth. And now, this is the calculation. There are about 260,000 angiosperms. But how many are we using in our daily life? We are supposed to be the managers of this whole earth. We say that we can do anything. We can even create plants. This is what people say. But how many plants we are using in our daily life? See, you take the global one, 100 plants. See, we have about 6 or 7 cereals, 8 or 9 pulses, 5 or 6 oil yielding plants, 60 or 70 medicinal plants. Then what about the rest 250,000 plants? Now just see the cereals, we use maximum 20 plants there, but there are a number of varieties are studied there, 100. Pulses 10, vegetables 100, fruits and nuts 100, medicines 1000. And when I calculated the plants which we are using, I have written in my book, Useful Herbs of Planet Earth, it is only 929 only, not even 1%. We are not using even 1% of our resources. We are so much abundant, richly surrounded by useful plants, and we do not know them. We can't identify them because you don't like taxonomy. You don't want to study them chemically because you are scared of chemistry. Then who will do it? Now see, we say there are about 10 cereals are there. Total members of graminae. You know, cereals are the seeds of graminae, poaceae. Total members of 9,000. And pulses, we have only 10. And total legumes, 12,000 in Fabaceae, 2,200 in Cisalpinaceae, 3,000 in Mimosaceae. That is a staggering 17,000 plants. And we are using only 10 plants. Now here I have taken a photograph. You know, the ants are carrying the grains of grasses. See, when I walk to the college, I used to walk to the college through the campus. I see in a campus, you can see ants are going in line holding grains. Ants can discover which grains are edible, and we do not. And so in Bible there is a quotation: "Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise." Without having any chief officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer. It gathers the food and stores so that in summer there will be enough food material. Now you can refer to chemotaxonomical books to find out what are the chemical compounds of a particular plant. See, Arthur Tronges, this is one of the best books. Then Dahlgren, then Egra, that is in German, you may not understand. or my book is there, Taxonomy Evolution at Work, but this is out of print. Now this is Congress book, this is my book. And see, I have studied only Bajra. I have studied a number of plants. And I have found out that this contain compounds which can prevent cancer. And this report came in Times of India because I studied them. See, I went out of the way. I looked for the polyphenols and other compounds of Bajra, because nobody has done it. I don't know why nobody has done it. Now this is Bajra. Now this is Kodri. Kodri is Paspalium scorbiculatum. This is one very good medicine for diabetes. And they have published my results in Times of India. Therefore, marketing people, they have increased the price of Kodri. Then you see Polygonaceae, there is a very good, pseudo cereal called buckwheat. And you just see 12 to 19% proteins, and they are, cereal proteins are prolamins, and they are insoluble in water. While the protein in buckwheat, that is Phagopyrum, is albumin and globulin, very easy, and that is rich in iron, zinc, and selenium. So how many plants you have in Polygonaceae? There are 1,000 plants are there in Polygonaceae. They will be having on the same seeds like that of Phagopyrum. And what are we doing with them? Then you say this is the diagram. Then quinoa, Chinapodium, quinoa. Now this is containing, is a pseudo cereal. This contains 19% proteins, superior to rice, wheat, and corn in having 9 essential amino acids. Then fats, sugars, and saponins. And how many plants we have that of Chinapodiaceae? That is 1,300. And this seed, UN Commission calls it as the golden grain. So if quinoa, Chinapodium quinoa, is having this much qualities, why other members of Chinapodiaceae do not have them? Somebody has to study. This is quinoa. Now these are the other bioprospecting. Then bioprospecting of active principle, that is herbal and Ayurvedic medicines, biopesticides, natural dyes, biofuel, these are the prospects. Then herbal technology. Then we come to different group of medicinal compounds. Benzoquinolines, that is alkaloids. Alkaloids are of many different types. In Facebook, I have put a PowerPoint presentation of alkaloids, which anybody can use. There's a classification of alkaloids and distribution of alkaloids. And many types of alkaloids are there. And benzyl isoquinolines, they are the alkaloids in ranels, primitive plants, Ranunculaceae, Menispermaceae, Papaveraceae. And examples are morphine, that is in papaver, berberin in berberis. Now, ranels and papaverales. Now, see, these are, the members of this important alkaloid isoquinoline, berberis, Elangium, Tinospora, Amrit, poppy, and there are about 16 plants which can be used as biopesticides and harmless biopesticides. Now there are 3,200 plants in ranels, 6,000 plants in papaverales. So totally 3,800 plants are there, but we have only 6 or 7 isoquinoline yielding plants. There's again repetition. Then ergot alkaloids. Ergot alkaloids is the alkaloid present in Claviceps purpurea. And now they are present in many of the convolvulaceous plants. You say this is morning glory, Ipomias and all that. It so happened that in UK, the state sponsored the garden plants. So there was a large queue to buy the seeds of this one. So the authorities thought that, next year it will be all flowery everywhere. But then next year, there were very less number of flowers. This happened for the third year also. A lot of seeds were bought by many people, but no flowers were there. Then they have inquired that, then they found out that people consume the seeds for kick. Now, these seeds contain, this is lysergic acid. This is lysergic acid. This lysergic acid, diethylamide is LSD. And these are the ergot alkaloids. See, lysergic acid estates are there. They are called clavin alkaloids in almost all members of convolvulaceous plants. And people smoke it, or people consume it, they chew it. See, Argyria revia, they were used as ololicky in American Indians as a hallucinogen. And we have, one of my students, in her PhD problem, she has screened about 40 plants of convolvulaceae seeds for ergot alkaloids, and she got ergot alkaloids in each and every plant. We wanted to publish it, we want to give publicity, but then my guide told that don't tell the public that these seeds are hallucinogenic, then they will go after that. So convolvulaceous plants are 1,500. You know that your convolvulus and evolvulus, Vishnukranta and Shankupushpi, they are good for enhancing memory. And they contain clavin alkaloids. So that result of memory enhancing effect may be because of these alkaloids. Now, indole alkaloids, you know, Sarpagandha, Vinca, then Mucula contain those alkaloids. So, Rubiaceae, indole alkaloids are there. There is a reserpine, there is increstin. So, they are present in Rubiaceae, Apocynaceae, and Asclepiadaceae. And Rauwolfia tetraphylla, I told you. Then Apocynaceae about 2,000 species, Asclepiadaceae about 2,000 species, Rubiaceae 6,500. That means 10,500 and 500, 11,000 plants are there which contain indole alkaloids. And very useful plants. You just see how many plants contain them. All of them are useful. Now, when we come to terpenoids, see, these are, you know, that neem. This is neem, this is Saimaruba. Now, they are bitter because they contain limonoids, lemon limonoids. You know, if you take the rind of citrus, it is bitter. So, the rinds of lemon contain bitter principles. So, these bitter principles are known as limonoids. And this is Quassia, Quassia amara, another member of Saimarubaceae that contains similar compounds, so they are called quasinoids. They are anti-cancer. You know, I don't have to explain you what is the use of neem. Azadirachtin is the best biopesticide around the world, most costly. And this is present in how many members? See, there are 2,000 or more plants belonging to Rutaceae, Meliaceae, Saimarubaceae, and Neoraceae. These compounds are studied only in 15 to 20 plants. Plant remaining is 1,979. This is quasinoids. You know, this is Saimaruba quassia, that also anti-cancer compound. Then cardiac glycoside. Cardiac glycosides, Strophanthus digitalis, they were used as heart poisons earlier. Then they were used as heart medicines. So they are present in Apocynaceae, Asclepiadaceae, and Rubiaceae. Same. And we do not know much about this compound distribution. Then saponins. Saponins, you know, you just take ginseng, bacopa, sandalla, all your brahmis, licorice, Safed Musli, Kali Musli, Shataberry, Gokhru, all of them contain saponins. Now, if you take all the members of these families, it will be about 10,000 plants. And we are short of all these compounds. So anybody can pick up. And ecdysterone. Ecdysterone is an anabolic steroid. And this is present in almost all centrospermae. Centrospermae is your Carombria of Bandhamanuka, Amaranthaceae, Chenopodiaceae, Polygonaceae. Now they contain, almost all of them contain ecdysterone. This is a steroid which is anabolic steroid. That means if you take ecdysterone, you can increase your body weight and stamina. And most of the athletes use this one, and this is permitted. You know that most of these our athletes are getting tested for narcotic steroids, but this is one steroid which you can use to increase your stamina, and this is present in most of the centrospermae, Amaranthaceae, Chenopodiaceae, Polygonaceae. Now this is one plant. This is Portulaca, Luni. And I have studied this one, and this is very useful for depression and cardiac problems. This is called purslane, very common vegetable in Europe. Then sesquiterpene alkaloids, you know, Celastrus paniculata, Jyotishmati. Jyotishmati contains sesquiterpene alkaloids. And mitensin is an sesquiterpene alkaloid from Mitinus. And there are about 800 species in Celastraceae, and only 3 or 4 plants have been studied. See, this is Jyotishmati, this is Celastrus, this is Mitinus. Then tropyl alkaloids, you know, belladonna, some of the most useful plants, belladonna, henbane, mandragora, datura, pain relievers are there, atropine, hyoscyamin, scopolamine. You know, atropine is the medicine which you put in your eye before you go for cataract surgery. That opened the pupil of the eye. And then steroidal alkaloids are solanaceae, they are precursors of progesterone. And most of them are antipyretic and anti-atherosclerotic. Now there is the Datura and Solanum, and then acetogenins in Annonaceae. Annonaceous acetogenin is one of the best biopesticide and anti-leukemic. And that is why, you know, people go for Lakshman Phal, that is Annona muricata. Lakshman Phal, Sida Phal, Ram Phal, all of them contain acetogenins. So whenever people have cancer, they come for these. And they contain acetogenins. You know that is having a very long saturated chain with a lactone ring at one end and 2 pyrrole ring in the middle. And only 3 or 4 plants have been studied. And Annonaceae contain 2,300 species. Now this is Annona squamosa, Annona muricata. Then sulfur compounds. Sulfur compounds, you know, cruciferous plants, they contain beta, that is hot. You know, we say that oil is hot. And because they contain sulfur containing glycosides. Now, these are excellent antioxidants. Now people talk about antioxidants. They say if you have any problem, it may be because of absence of enough antioxidants in your body. Because of this pollution and junk food, our body is utilizing all normal antioxidants in the body. So you will have to supply antioxidant from outside. And these antioxidants from cruciferous members, glucosinolase, that is your brassica or your raphanus, muli, and they contain antioxidants which will regenerate other antioxidants without them getting involved. So these are super antioxidants, these cruciferous plants, all vegetables, seeds, fruits, drumstick, all of them. And then sulfides of garlic, and ajoin is another anti-leukemic compound. Allyl propyl sulfide, all of them, and you might have used these plants because of corona problem. You know, they are all antibacterial and antiviral. And the potential sources are Caparaceae, Cleomaceae, Brassicaceae and Caparaceae, that contain about 4,000 plants, of which 100 plants might have been studied. Now, sulfides in garlic, that means for Liliaceae, and only about 50 plants have been studied for sulfides. But the total members of Liliaceae family is 4,950. Now see, this is mustard, drumstick, and this is the structure of them. And they are indirectly, glucosinolates are indirectly activating the body's detoxification systems. Then isoflavonoids. And isoflavonoids are a group of flavonoids which are structurally similar to the common flavonoids. Genistein is there in soybean, and that is used for breast cancer and used in stent coating and best antioxidant. Then rotinones, that is there in Pongamia. They are very important biopesticide which are harmless to humans. So members of Fabales are 17,200, of which we do not know about 17,100 plants. Only about 100 plants have been studied. Now there is genistein and rotinone, soybean, Pongamia. Then lignans. You are using, what is that, flaxseed. Flaxseed you are using, till you are using. Now all of them contain lignans, means a group of phenolics. Coumarin, they are also a group of phenolics. They are all antiviral and anti-cancerous, and Malina, it is hypoglycemic, and about 14 plants have been used as biopesticides, and potential source of bioprospecting is about Barbary 680, and this is about 12,000. So see, so much work is remaining. This is flaxseed, this is Phyllanthus contain lignan. Then volatile oil, medicines, there are 40 plants which contain volatile oil which are used as medicine, 40 plus 17 with the biopesticide 61, and aromatherapy is because of volatile oil, and family containing volatile oil will be about 30,000. Then diterpenes, this is Taxus brevifolia, and this contains taxol, a diterpene which is anti-leukemic. Now similar gingolide is from Jingo, that is one of the best memory enhancer. Taxol, stevioside, stevia, amarogentin, the bitterest natural compound, andrographolide, Kyriathu, andrographis, then Caesalpinia bordusella containing caesalpins, and there are 13 biopesticides in this, and you see the plants which are there in this group which are not studied. Taxus 16, Celastus 1300, Euphorbia 2000. Iridoids. Iridoids means, as a botanist, you know that if you take a plant material and prepare a herbarium, the herbarium becomes black after some time. It is because of pseudoindicans. The name is pseudoindicans. It is just like it becomes blue. The test is, if you heat it with HCl, it will become blue in color. So they are iridoids. And you see how many plants contain iridoids. Sahajara, Nirgundi, Morinda noni, Picrorhiza, Kurova, Gentian, Catunarigum, Randia. All of them, they contain iridoids. Now these are about iridoids. See, these are the plants containing iridoids. Family is rich in iridoids. Rubiaceae 6,500, Loganiaceae 5,000, Apocyanaceae 2,000, Scopulaceae 4,000, Verbanaceae 2,600. That means about 15,000 plants are rich in iridoids, and these are adapted by all advanced families because of the antibacterial and antibiotic compounds. Then sesquiterpenes, and you know that Parthenia, this is fever view. This contains parthenin, and this is Jetamansi. Jatamansi is one of the very famous perfumes and medicines. They contain this is Artemisia, Artemisia annuum, and this is the medicine for Plasmodium falciparum. Now you take only 2 injections and you will be completely free of Zahari malaria. But doctors do not use them frequently because these parasite will develop resistance. Now such compounds will be there in all these composite, and then quinones. Quinones, when I prepare a webinar on antiviral plants, quinones are excellent antiviral compounds. And there are so many compounds which are used in embalia, henna, chitrak, cassia, ramnas, red sandalwood, all of them, they contain these many quinones. Many of them are natural dyes, excellent dyes. Then herbal cosmetics. I prepare a cosmetic cream, and for that I use red sandalwood, Pterocarpus sendalinus. Excellent, it is a lactocalamine color. Then cassia angustifolia, and this quinone, they disrupt the virus by disrupting their protein covering. So many plants are there. Phenolics, flavonoids, simple phenols 21, flavonoids 22, tannins 22, natural dyes are so many, and phenolics and polyphenols are present in almost all angiosperms. Then tannins, and this is emblicanin. Emblicanin is a tannin present in amla. Amla is Phyllanthus, not Phyllanthus, Emblica officinalis. And the vitamin C property is because of this tannin. Actually, Emblica, Indian gooseberry, does not contain vitamin C ascorbic acid. Instead, it is having a tannin having a central active site, which is similar to ascorbic acid, this site. So it mimic vitamin C. So emblicanin is a vitamin C like tannin. And so many plants should have this emblicanin. Then other compounds are there. These are there. Now, if you want to go further, you can see my book on useful herbs of planet Earth. Now, how to proceed? See, you look to any plant around and you can start plant. You don't have anybody to suggest you that you take this plant and this plant. Now, any new plant, say X, you are collected, find out the family, and then look for the nearest relative. And if you get a plant called Vitex, look to what is the nearest relative having Vitex nagundo. Then search for active compound in Vitex nagundo. Then dig out the research papers in these plants. So take the extract of Vitex nagundo and compare it with the extract of your new plant. So this is co-chromatography. In one TLC, you will see whether they contain any compound in common or all compounds are related or not related. Then bioassay directed approach is there. Then chemoprospecting is there, which a botanist is a difficult to. Now, if you want to learn analytical method, there is my book is there. I published in 2016 with my son Denny Maman, who is an organic chemist. He is an assistant professor. So here we have given analytical methods of about 300 plants. There are about 400 experiments are there. Now this is almost sold out. So a revised one is there by same scientific publishers. And then if you want to see what are the compounds in plants, this is a slightly costly book. This is Plant Drug Analysis, TLC. This is a TLC guide. Plant Drug Analysis by Wagner, Blatt and Skwinsky, published by Springer Verlag. And you get the chromatogram. Actual photographs of chromatograms are available. So you will see a non-compound, you will see a non-plant, and with that you can chromatograph. See, this may be non-compound, this is an unknown plant. And if you get similar spot, then that contains the same compound. See, this is theobromine and this is cocoa. And these are seen in UV fluorescence. So co-chromatography is, see, this is just I did for quality control because I'm using Pterocarpus marsupium wood. So we got a material which doesn't exactly look like Vijayasar, that is Pterocarpus marsupium. So I did a water extract, methanolic extract of Pterocarpus marsupium, standard one, which I had. It is this one and the unknown one, and found out that both are chemically essentially the same, co-chromatography. Then this is about flavonoid, again co-chromatography. See, 3 plants are being compared. So with this, about, I think I took about 40-45 minutes. I tried my level best to give you an idea of bioprospecting, and I retired in 2012, and then I thought I will have some research work in my home. So I constructed upstairs because I got some money from retirement benefit. So in that I created a small room as my laboratory, and then my students came. They said that, sir, why don't we do anything? You were talking about, so much scope for plant biology and medicinal plants. So with their help, we started a pharmaceutical firm, which they called as Dr. Daniel's Labs. So if you see my website, that is www.drdanielslabs.com, you will see what are our products, what are my credentials. You can approach me by my email, Dr. Daniel Labs, and Facebook. And you just see Facebook. I have written about, I think for the last 1.5 years, I have written every week. I am putting 2 or 3 articles on phytochemistry, taxonomy, and all that. So you can look to my Facebook account of Mom and Daniel or Dr. Daniel's Laboratory, or in acute necessity. Don't call me just like that. My phone number is here. You can contact me. Thank you. And if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable and informative lecture. I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, you may work and extract many chemical compound from plant.
Yeah.
So I think which is more important for health and our environment among these compound?
Can you repeat the question? It's not clear for me.
I think you may extract many compound and you may work in chemotaxonomy.
Yeah.
In your opinion or in your experience in such practical field, which particular compound is more effective in our health and in our environment?
This is a very, very puzzling question. See, in my first book on medicinal plants, I have written alkaloids are most important medicinal compounds. Now, when I wrote my book in 2016, I found out that terpenoids are more common. And now I have prepared a review on antiviral compound. And to my surprise, it is the flavonoids which are having maximum antiviral potency. And that is the flavonoids like quercetin, camphorol, and all that, and some of the lignans. So every compound is having a role. I don't know. You cannot select that alkaloids are excellent, terpenoids are excellent, phenolic, and you cannot say that one compound is not good also. Because my experience of now, this is the 49th year of my research, I have seen that every compound, underline it, is having a role in this nature. Either that is, the plant manufacture it because for their own benefit. It manufacture alkaloid because it doesn't want to be eaten by animals. It has volatile oil because it doesn't want the insect come and eat away the leaves. And it will have certain flower with pheromones so that it can attract insects for pollination. So every compound is, I cannot, at this stage, I am now 72. At this age, you cannot quote me, sir said that this is the maximum. Every compound, alkaloids are important, mostly secondary metabolites. Secondary metabolites means 3 alkaloids, terpenoids, including volatile oils, steroids, and all that, and polyphenols, simple phenols and polyphenols. These 3 groups are medicinally important, economically important, ecologically important, but otherwise, I cannot, I refrain. Yeah, I cannot commit because if I make a statement, it will be wrong. Because tomorrow somebody else will come out and say that this group of compounds are excellent. Okay?
Yeah, okay, sir. Another question. In COVID situation, how Giloy work to remedy in COVID-19?
Please
Sir?
repeat the question.
In COVID situation, how Giloy Tinospora?
Giloy.
Yes.
Giloy is an immunomodulator that will give you resistance, and it contains a number of compounds having different properties. It contains certain alkaloids, berberine and all that, which are anti-rheumatic, and it contains mucilage, which are anti-diabetic, and a number of polyphenols are there, which are antioxidants. So it is good, but the Giloy as a single medicine, I do not recommend, because there is so much hype is there on Giloy, but it is not that important. There are many other plants which are equally good or better than that. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Participant may ask directly question to Daniel, sir.
Or you can send your question to my email.
Yes.
And now people are already left. I think when I joined, there were about 140 participants. Now there are only 77. That means they got saturated. So why to keep them waiting? Okay.
Thank you once again, sir, for your valuable presentation. Now I would like to request Dr. Sunil Kumar Jadhav to give a vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to thank our resource person for coming with such an valuable ideas and giving us their valuable time, managing their busy schedules. I, Dr. Sunil Kumar Yadav, on behalf of Egra SSB College, I would like to extend my thanks to our resource person for sharing their time and view with us. So please accept our sincere gratitude, sir, for coming with such an profitable ideas. Next, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to Professor Deepak Kumar Goswami, Professor of Physics, IIT Kharagpur, and Professor Maman Daniel, sir, Professor of Botany, MS University, Baroda, Vadodara. I would also like to thank our principal, Honorable Principal Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, for his continuous encouragement and support in organizing such kind of events. Next, I would like to thank Mr. Tarun Kumar Maiti, President, Governing Body, Egra SSB College, for his support and suggestion. He is also MLA of Government of West Bengal. Next, I would like to thank our IQAC coordinator for his support. I would also like to thank the entire teaching faculty of Egra SSB College and also non-teaching faculties of our college for his support and encouragement. Next, I would like to thank all the participants for joining us giving their time to get something from our resource persons. And also, I would like to thank our participant for making this event a grand success. Next, I mean, last but not the least, I would like to thank the organizers, member of organizing committee of Egra SSB College. Special thanks goes to Dr. Nirmal Hajra, Dr. Sudipto Ghorai, Dr. Alay Chand Biswas, Dr. Deepak Bisai, Dr. Chayan Ranjit, Professor Manik Lal Pati, Professor Mumtaz Khatun, Professor Debojyoti Pradhan, Dr. Deepak Pradeep Kumar Mandal, and Professor Prasanjit Murmu. And also, I would like to thank once again our resource person, Daniel sir. Namaskar, sir. Thank you. With this, I would like to conclude. Okay, ma'am. So, shall we
Thank you.
conclude, sir?
Thank you, Dr. Sunil Kumar Jadhav. Now we end our webinar session here. Good luck. Thank you again.